welcome my fellow queen, Kieran, Madam Gandhi. Thank you for being here. Girl, I miss you.
I miss you so much, but I feel connected to you because I'm out here taking your rides all the time. So it's always this really beautiful, intimate thing where all of us as your fans like know you and we're like, oh, we were just hanging out yesterday. Like we were just hanging out doing weights together and lunges. I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
funny. Well, listen,
Anyway,
so for those watching, the last DJ ride ever at 23rd Street was actually with Madam Gandhi. And so the last time I saw you, it was like, we were like, what's COVID? What's happening? And then, then the world literally changed. But it's so interesting when you never know what story will be like the crux of a chapter. And that is like a pivotal chapter that I will never forget. And of course, that like DJ ride
was so special.
That's on demand for anybody who wants to take it. So, okay, so this is going to fly by and there's so much we could talk about. We initially met through Adidas, and you DJ'd and performed at an event, and I was like, I am obsessed with everything she is throwing down. I need to be friends with this person. And then when I dug deeper and read about your story and understood your story, I was just awe-inspired. So let's inspire the audience and let's tell them a little bit about your background. You're on a one-person mission to reframe and repackage and re-understand gender identity. So where did that, was that like from a baby in New York and India, you had that push, or was like, how did that come about? It's so powerful.
I love that question. I have always been passionate about gender. I've always been passionate about us as women, especially being able to step into the fullness of our gender. But the most rewarding part is that the more I do this work, the more I realize this work is for people of all gender identities. And it's actually been so healing for me to watch men reach out to me and say, listen, Kieran, the patriarchy affects all of us and it affects all of us so negatively, and we're all in alignment, and that's been really humbling for me to kind of remember that. I grew up here in New York City. I've always been passionate about music. I used to play drums for MIA. I've always been passionate about fitness and wellness and infusing those two things together. That's why, obviously your work is so dear to me as well. And then I've been performing and producing my own music as Madam Gandhi the past 5 years.
Okay, so did you grow up in both New York and India as a child?
Yes.
Were you kind of living in both places? How did that, that had to have shaped you. Can you speak on that?
It did, and in both ways. I think in New York City, I was able to kind of check my own privilege at a really young age. And even though we didn't have that vocabulary, because that's kind of now like in the culture, I did that intuitively, because in India, you're confronted with poverty right outside your window. You're confronted with classism, and you're confronted with just the reality of so many different people's walk of life. In New York City, especially growing up on the Upper East Side, especially attending a private school, there is a lot of problematic sheltering that happens where people don't really know the reality of other folks. And I think that was really important to develop my own sense of empathy and to feel even more a sense of using my passion and whatever privilege we've all been given to make a difference in the world.
So it's interesting that you're highlighting the, because your music and artistry is proudly feminist and proudly kind of non-binary, and men, those who identify as men, are reaching out saying, hey, but this toxic masculinity affects me too. So has that shaped your art?
Yes, I'm in studio right now writing my third album. It's called Vibrations, and this album is so much more about healing and about personal wellness. And I imagine my audience being a lot more diverse than probably I imagined my audience even 2 years ago. And that is humbling for me. It is important to be like, I'm actually stepping into my mother right now, as in not my own mom, but my own inner mother.
Yes.
My essence of mother. Yes, the energy of mother, and being healing for folks of all genders and of any age also. And that's like this powerful thing that, I always felt like I was the baby in the situation. And now to kind of step into that power to heal others, I would say that's how this has changed for me. And that's how it's impacting my music. It's more thoughtful now. It's less like, protest, and it's more healing.
That's interesting. How would you describe your music to folks who have never heard it? And what's the first track they should check out after watching this?
I make uplifting percussive anthems, and you should listen to Bad Habits.
Okay, I love it. So my personal favorite of yours is Top Knot Turn Up, and I
I knew
played
you
it
were
in
gonna say
classes.
that.
It is absolutely, that is an anthem. I literally have
Thank you.
lifted like really boss heavy weights to that song.
And
So
Robin,
thank you.
Arzón is your last name. Do you have roots in the Latin American culture?
Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, first generation born in the US.
So dope. I was gonna say because we had so the remix for Top Knot comes out on Friday, and we have
Ooh!
two very well-known Brazilian, so Portuguese speaking, MCs remixing the track. And so we have Drake Barbosa and MC Sophia, who are
Oh
huge
my
in
God, I
Brazil.
can't wait to listen to that. Will that be available on Spotify, and where can people
Yes,
hear it?
and
Okay.
also on Peloton. So
Oh, dope.
whenever the song is called to you, I think you will love it because they just take it in that kind of Latin direction that we in America are just we're light years behind on the swag in that context.
Yeah, we're picking up the swag that is age-old swag in a lot of ways.
That's it.
So you're working on new stuff. We can't wait to hear it. What is the name of your new album?
Vibrations.
Vibrations.
So the first one
Okay.
was Voices, and then it was Visions, and now it's Vibrations, and it's a lot more love energy and a lot more mantra based, and it's just so beautiful. And you're a leader in this space, which is in the quarantine, the entire world has taken this moment to kind of go slower. And
Mm.
I'm watching the commitment to personal wellness for so many folks truly increase and expand. Meditation has taken off. Obviously, Peloton is doing so well because of that wellness and mental health that you all deliver to so many folks, and what you're doing specifically as Robin. I want to make an album that is scoring that feeling so that when people are singing my music, they're actually just singing mantras and personal wellness mentalities for themselves. So it acts as this like positive hypnosis, because the reverse is also true. We're all turning up to the sound of our own oppression, turning on all the trap jams, all the EDM jams. That I'm not against the sex positivity, but I am against us having to refer to ourselves in derogatory words. It's unfair. So I'm
I
trying to
know
provide the alternative.
that like thought bomb that you planted. I don't remember the first time I heard you say that, but it actually, like, it was a paradigm shift for me. And once that paradigm starts to shift, you're armed with curiosity, and then you have no choice but to, like,
You
then
can't
arm
unknow
yourself
it.
with
Yeah,
you can't unknow it.
unknow it.
And then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, now I need to educate and re-educate and adapt and pivot, and you can't unsee, So
we have WAP.
that's so powerful.
We have WAP that just came out by Megan and Cardi, and the song is cool. Like, I like when she goes WAP WAP WAP, and like the concept is funny and playful and hot. Like, if we are healthy with our anatomy feeling turned on and connected, that's hot. I want more of that. But here's the issue. On YouTube, the only thing that is censored is the phrase "wet ass," you fill in the blank. That's what's I don't know what we're allowed to say, but yeah, "wet ass pussy" is what is censored. That's the only thing that is censored, and yet that's the only sex positive part in the entire song. The rest of the song shows us completely in the context of our own oppression. We are completely catering to male fantasies of like pornographic constructions of female identity. And the whole song starts off with, "There's some whores in this house." They say it 78 times in the entirety of the song, and that's allowed. So as long as we're putting ourselves down, it doesn't need to be censored. But when we're putting ourselves up and celebrating the functionality of our sexual anatomy, that's what gets blocked. So it's just unbelievable.
That was just the most powerful unpacking of the number one song in in the Western world right now. This is what I find so beautiful about whenever we get to build, is that you're bringing, so just for background for folks watching, she's Harvard Business School. She used to be at Spotify. She has this cerebral kind of, business understanding and underpinning foundation. And then also coming at it from this incredibly activist, I think beautifully activist approach. And I think we assume that the music that we turn up to can't be that positive mantra that you're talking about,
Right.
right? So it's either an association that something's going to be like the sleepy tune that's okay to meditate to, or it's the turn up that is, as you say, the sounds of our own oppression. So I
Right.
think that the more that we can create that bridge and create offerings like you are of alternatives, because I think that is, you know, when I'm making a playlist, it's like, okay, it's going to be this, and this, and then, but if I have more options like your music, then we're constantly bridging that, and then of course highlighting the intense sexism of even a sex positive song, censoring
Totally.
the sex positive piece of it.
Exactly. Exactly. You get it. And I love that you're kind of understanding what I'm saying. And I think the final component of that, just taking it all the way home, is retraining the consumer, retraining the fan, retraining the algorithm. Like 10 years ago, I thought vegan was something else. Like I didn't understand that means that we just get to like eat clean and like eat from the earth and like grow our own food. Like the point that I'm trying to make is that we as the consumer, as long as we're educated, I actually do think people want to do good. I think that is the default. We just need to know. Like the whole movement of supporting Black owned businesses, queer owned businesses,
Yes,
businesses by folks who are differently abled, by women. It's the same thing in music. Why are we tolerating stuff that literally contributes to our own oppression, to our own kind of problematic construction of our own sexuality and beauty? We can't affirm it by listening to it. And Spotify is seeing, or whatever, Apple Music, they are seeing what we consume. So the
yes,
more we press mute or skip, the more we're retraining the algorithms for us to demand better.
yeah, and we deserve better. And I think that I do think, you know, the arts has a beautiful way of taking us out of statistic and into story, but then we have to be acutely aware of what story we're telling and what story we're supporting by the clicks and by the, you know,
Yes.
all that. So okay, so you earlier this year you had an epic opportunity to tour with Oprah, and I need to know
Yes.
everything about it.
I know. It was
What
just
that
iconic.
like? Oh my gosh.
I mean, you two will meet, and when you two will meet, it will make so much sense. I mean, she had Daybreaker, which is the morning wellness dance party, open every leg of her stadium tour. And I've worked with Daybreaker for many years, drumming at their morning parties because I align with what they're doing. I love the idea of being able to party with no alcohol, to party with other folks who want to do yoga. Like that makes me feel so happy because as a music consumer, the only options we have are to go to bars where there's only alcohol. Like it would be so cool to pull up to a bar and they're like, here's a green juice. Like, did you want extra ginger or like extra turmeric? You know what I mean? Like, let's reimagine the whole thing. And that's what they were doing. So anyway, Oprah in her visionary way had us open every leg, and I play the first drum beat of every show. And it was incredible to play in a stadium. That was the first time I ever did that. And you just watch something that's really pro, Robin. Like the whole thing is so pro so that she can show up as her best self every day. And she can show up calm and effortless to inspire thousands of people in a stadium and hold space from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's a long stamina of a day.
Right.
And she does it. And she does it with, as you say, gratitude, openness, kindness, power, the queen energy. Like she's doing that. And so I just learned a lot. I learned a lot how we have to unapologetically like optimize for our own success so that we can show up to work.
Yes. And I think for me, I'm learning that that's showing up in boundary setting as well as establishing standards. So it's like more boundaries, higher standards. It's increasingly becoming my mantra for the remainder of 2020.
Wow. Well, and Virgo, we're walking into Virgo season, so you know we're all on the same page with you.
This is it. Oh my gosh. So I literally saw you on the cusp of the stay-at-home order in New York City and LA and major metropolitan areas in the US. What has this process, this time period taught you?
Girl, you know, in the spirit of being so vulnerable in this call, the quarantine was very challenging for me. It was very challenging. The first month, I was posting all my workouts, I was making food, I was eating super clean, I was getting ready to release my music video, which performed beautifully, and you should all watch it. It's called Waiting for Me. It's in India. It's shot in India.
Beautiful.
But the actual quarantine was difficult. I felt lonely. I felt waves of my own depression to the extent that I didn't even know I had. I felt I felt sad. I felt, I learned that, and I've been doing these Chopra meditations daily, which I truly love because they're teaching me how to detach the ego from our true underlying love energy and our
Mm.
spirit and our consciousness. And I think for me, that was important because in a period where I was not doing anything, I was not public speaking, I was not performing, I was not doing these things that I do every day that give me so much validation and basically are the construction of my identity.
Yes.
When that didn't exist anymore, it was like this feeling of like, oh man, you feel naked. You feel,
Yeah.
do I have value? Do I have worth? Where am I deriving my self-worth?
Yes, that question. I guarantee the people, folks watching, that a light bulb just went off because where are we deriving the value? And if it's not in the post, in the like, in the where, whatever you find meaning in work wise, that was robbed for a lot of us. That we've had to adapt and find new meaning. So what did you what conclusions did you come to?
I think it's been, I think time heals everything. I think going through whatever demons I went through was good. I think being gentle with myself, that's like a big thing in the activist community right now. Like, be gentle with yourself. I feel like I was allowing myself to be drinking and being like just like partying in a way that I don't tend to, like sleeping at 6 in the morning because I'm working on music or because I'm on FaceTime or because whatever, like just allowing that because that's where I felt. But then the excitement of coming out of that, and then like completely no drinking and getting on a clean eating schedule and getting back to waking up early and going for my runs and getting back into my fitness, like that felt healing. It felt like a rehabilitation. Like I feel like I released a lot of the demons and now I'm in this space of like what feels fun, like what feels honest, like what feels like cool, like what feels like you have something to give, and how do I say no to more stuff so I can just be making the record. And also with vibrations, it's a healing album, so I can't be drinking, I can't be partying. It's almost like in order for me to have authenticity on the record, I need to be practicing these decisions myself.
Mm-hmm. What is honest? That is such a beautiful question. What is honest? Because that requires such an unpacking of that internal dialogue. But interesting dichotomy, right? Because your album will probably be of a higher vibration because it's juxtaposed with this period that you
Yes.
weren't.
Yes.
We do have to go through those, swim through those waves for sure. So you're a drummer. Would you play any other instruments?
I play a little bit of piano and then I produce on Ableton Live, which is the
Yeah.
music software.
So why drums? Because, historically speaking, there haven't been a lot of female drummers. So I think it's so incredibly badass and iconic that you were like, I'm going to do that.
Thank you, fam. I know. I mean, I think I understood intuitively that it was rebellious. I understood intuitively that women don't play the drums. But I think more so than that, I actually saw a lot of freedom in drums and in the drumming community. Drummers are hardworking. They have a humility to them because they're in the back of the band. And also they don't have so much scrutiny on them. Like whether you hit this symbol or that symbol, like no one's telling you what's what. I kind of learned that. And of course you have to have precision with the timing, but you don't have to have so much precision in terms of how you choose to articulate yourself. And right. I saw enormous freedom in that because when I played piano, if I hit the wrong note, I've instantly messed up the song. Whereas in drumming, if I put the, beat number 3 on the tom versus the snare, it actually could make an interesting choice. And then you actually get encouraged for that. It's like, oh, cool. Let's experiment,
Let's go with that. Right.
Let's go with that. Yeah. And intuitively as a kid, I think I understood that and I loved it. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I get rewarded to be creative instead of regurgitate something and find that I'm always getting it wrong.
Yo, one of the things I love most about you is that you have a history of learning the rules in order to break all of the rules.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Harvard Business School, pivot, learn the drums.
Yo, it's
pivot.
True. I mean, I relate to, I see you, Robin. We are mirrors of each other in that way. And I think you had shared something on your Instagram, kind of like a 101 of business that I just loved, which was like, talk to everybody and take meetings and be open to pushing your idea to different folks, because you never know, that one call might be the thing. And sometimes with my own plant all the seeds. It's just so say yes. And then I think also with my own feminism and with my own passion for gender liberation, of course it's tough because people don't want to hear criticisms of their favorite song,
Right. And
so
iconic things. I mean, they might be things that will never be re-recorded because the artists aren't even here anymore,
Totally, so true. So I sometimes have hesitation and my own fears about being honest and pushing this work forward. But then that's the thing with them being brave. That's where the reward is. Taking
Yes.
a risk. That's where the sweetness is.
And you have had an interesting journey as an artist, but then also as an athlete, and you've had moments where they've intersected. Does bravery in one feed bravery in another, and how do you unpack that?
Thank you so much for asking that question, because right now it is my own marathon training that has inspired my album, and then it's my album that's inspiring my marathon training. Are you signed up for the virtual marathon, NYC?
Oh, the New York City. I'm like toying with it. I'll be frank, I have not been on my long runs, so it would be a challenge. But I'm always up for a challenge.
Yeah, girl. And you're also probably having high expectations of your timing and shit. I bet you could go run right now. You'd be all right.
I could honestly go run a marathon right now, but you're right. I would have to actually release, and this was before all the races were canceled. When the year started, I was like, okay, can you run a marathon without the pressure of the external gaze? Can you ask what's honest and just do it for the purity of why you fell in love with it in the first place? And that was honestly something I've been wrestling with. And I kind of just backed away and I was like, all right, I'm gonna have a strength training moment. And I've been really focusing on a lot of like powerlifting. That said, I still haven't answered that question for myself. Like when I get back to my next race, I have to have that settled. Otherwise, it's just gonna every mile is just another step towards judgment.
I love that,
but what's the point?
But girl, this is the perfect situation for you to exercise that, because a virtual marathon is bullshit anyway. It's like perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like you just gotta run within 10 hours and send a screenshot of your Strava. Like it's not deep. You know what I mean? It's like not deep. That's why I'm doing it. I'm like, it's okay. It's a marathon is better than no marathon. I feel that way.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. Of course.
And also, Robin, you're good at the narrative. Like you're so good at extracting the lesson no matter. When it's your best time, you extract the lesson. When it's your third best time, you're still teaching us something, I think you ought to do it.
I appreciate the encouragement, and I always appreciate that you're such a real reflection of, like, you are so vulnerable with your thought process and your it's everybody most people arrive feeling so polished, and you arrive being like, yes, I've been a boss and like this and this, and I'm still struggling with this too. And I think that honesty is so encouraging, because we look at people's Instagrams or whatever highlight reels, and it does feel like everybody's got it together and everybody's a 5-minute mile and everybody has all these awards, and it's just like, nah, I admire turning pain into power and doubt into determination.
And actually, that's more what I look for. When I look for someone, when I see someone who's inspired me, I actually want to know, did they go through something? Because I'm going through something, and I want to know that they came out okay, so therefore I'm gonna come out okay.
Yeah. Ooh. So last question from me, and then you get to put the host in the hot seat. What lesson has taken you the longest to learn?
This is such a great question. What lessons have taken me the longest to learn? Oh man, I think probably my dad was very academics and achievement oriented, and I think I work a lot on deprogramming my own self-worth as an attachment to my achievements. I think that's an honest answer. Yeah.
I mean, and you indicated that was you were hit, I mean, you had that reflected to you at the beginning of COVID when it's like,
yes,
no speaking engagements, no performances, no tour, no this, no that, no in-person meetings, and you don't have that audience.
Feedbacking, yeah.
Without the audience, it is like, what are we doing this for? And that is, yeah, I've definitely wrestled with that as well, for sure. All right, girl. Question, opportunity to put the host in the hot seat. Any question you have for me?
Yeah, that's so cool. This is so fun. I would love to know, how do you keep your consistent discipline? That's what one thing I want to know.
It's purpose over motivation. Purpose over motivation, and then optimizing process. So some of it is like the basic stuff, like go to bed a certain time, drink your water, eat a vegetable. You know, we all know that. But I really vibrate on a higher purpose. I believe in creating a legacy that honors the legacy that came before me. You know, I think like my abuela, my grandmother's prayers are kind of still protecting me, and I take that really seriously. So there's like that overarching, like metaphysical, like legacy stuff that I think about. And then there's the day to day, like I was born to do epic shit. Like I'm not here accidentally. And most of the time, I don't feel like training. Most of the time, I do not feel like adding another dumbbell or adding another plate to the rack. Most of the time, I am exhausted when I'm teaching Peloton classes. But I really believe in that purpose. And it's like, what 10,000, 100,000 small decisions are creating the legacy that is worth telling. So I think about that a lot. So that's like, I guess, it's three-parter. It's like legacy, my mission, my personal mission to do epic shit. And then like the practical elements of like create the process, like create the framework that sets you up where you're not creating friction in the decision making. Like the more you eliminate the friction and the impediment, the more you can actually listen to that purpose. So because if you're like, you got to drive an hour away to even do the run or do the workout,
you're not even going to get in.
Of course you're not going to even do it. So yeah, so that's my answer to that.
Chills, fam. Chills. I love that question. All right, let me ask you this then. Have you ever not shown up to teach a class?
Never. I called out of one of the thousands of classes because I had 105 fever. That was the only time I've never shown up for a Peloton class. Otherwise, I have shown up for every single class, every single call time, every single performance, every single one.
History is made by those who show up. And let me tell you something else, Robin. You know who also never missed a show?
Who?
Oprah Winfrey.
That makes me feel so good. That's the standard of excellence. But the way you describe it is like, she creates the team, the infrastructure, the processes of excellence to enable the performance of 8 hours or whatever it is. No excuses, no dilution of the excellence.
That's it. And so then
I think it takes a lot of stumbles to get there, right? So like nobody arrives as Oprah. It's like, I'm sure Oprah had a lot of missteps and a lot of misperformances to arrive at the Oprah who does a world tour, you know, with you.
With drummers. Yeah, I love it. Okay, let me ask you this then quickly. So what did it look like to shape the people to allow you to show up as your most high vibrating self? And have you dealt with pushback or like haters where you felt like, oh man, sorry, like you're making me feel like I'm too full of myself or something like that, like where you don't get to show up to shine big to then enable other people to shine big? Have you ever dealt with that dynamic?
I'm pretty good, just like I have feeling you are too. I'm pretty good at tuning into the energy, the vibe. And it's interesting because when you have a performative kind of, when part of your job is involving performance and vanity and kind of the opposite of humility, you also need to know when you're just going to be around a conference room table with someone building the rocket ship while the rocket ship is in motion. Like I think I'm constantly living in that place. So the folks who I know for sure, like the teammates I have on Peloton from the instructor team on the production side, the most successful and the ones I've worked the longest with have that kind of ability to pivot kind of on stage and then pivot to, now we're just building the business. Now we're just building the value. We're going back to the value system. But for sure, I mean, like my assistant Corinne, I would not even be able to do what I do without her, but she also vibrates at that like we're here to hustle. So there's like a scrappiness to the folks I like to work with. And they're not, so it's like a scrappiness that isn't afraid to rise to the level of sophistication and excellence at the same time of being like, but no, we got this. Like, don't ever forget who you are. So I think, so it's building that team, that you, and when your gut is saying, this is not the move, it's like, I've backed out of signing contracts. I've backed out meetings. I mean, not like that I'm flaky, but there have been a few opportune moments where I'm like, I gotta listen,
Yep. You're dialed in. Okay, yeah, last two questions. Where are you lifting? These are personal questions. Where are you lifting? Because I'm so jealous. Oh, no wonder.
I ordered literally the weekend of
because Rogue is sold out. All the CrossFit gear is sold out.
We April, like the beginning of April, we ordered, or maybe even March, we ordered the barbell and the plates, and you should see, some of them are funny. Like some of them are like 10 little teeny plates just to get like, I was like, listen, we gotta make it work. But yes, we ordered that like with the quickness.
So smart. I'm so jealous. I think I didn't genuinely believe, I felt like CrossFit, because I live next door to one, and I kind of thought the opposite. I thought it was going to open up in a couple of weeks because it kept getting like pushed.
Yes.
And then not only did it not open, it permanently closed, and it was so sad for me because CrossFit has always been my centering workout, and obviously marathon training. But anyway, that's tight that you're doing the lifting at home. Okay, my last question is, are you going to play the remixes when they come out by all women producers of color from around the world? They drop on Friday. Are you going to play them?
Hell yes. Y'all will hear the Top That Turn Up remix in my class. It's probably be an intervals class, so hit or Tabata, look for it. I will absolutely be supporting you. Where can folks find you, listen to you, vibrate with your energy?
2 places, Madam Gandhi on Instagram and Madam Gandhi on Spotify. Thank you so much, Robin. Hustlers at
I'm sending
home.
You so much love. Thank you for being a guest. I truly, every interaction we've had over the years, I'm just like, she's the real one. Like real recognizes real, and you are a real one. So thank you, Kieran. So much love for you. Thank you.
Love you. Love you.
Love you. Bye. Thank you.